and gentlemen, hello, welcome your faces back to a brand new video where I'll be discussing a comment that someone replied to me on this video here. Without further ado, let's watch it.
Are you on about Gary economics? Every revolution in history began with the assassination of the taxman, not sucking the taxman off, hoping he taxes you more. That's not a revolution. Right. That is garbage. And the fact that he thinks giving the UK government any more money when they do nothing but waste it. They have hundreds of billions for Ukraine. Why? Because they launder it. So he thinks, let's give the criminals who steal all the money more of our money and maybe it'll all work out because their kids need a future. There's no future as long as you're dealing with crooks, sir. And if you think you could tax rich people, you're also an idiot. Right. Because let me tell you from a rich person, we leave.
Or restructure things.
Or restructure things. That's right. I can restructure my life and still visit England and enjoy England while having my wealth elsewhere and not pay the taxes. I think he works for the Matrix. I think he's been paid. I think they've put him somewhere, they've put him in. Think about this. Labor come in, they're gonna put everyone's taxes up, going over, remove the winter fuel allowance and wreck everybody. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, some skinny dipshit is all over the internet begging for higher taxes just before the higher taxes come. Is this a coincidence?
Well, is it a coincidence? Gary Stevenson. What a man. He's managed to even get Andrew Tate riled up. Now, I'm not here defending Andrew Tate. I don't really know anything about him. But I've got to be honest. He is bang on the money here. You don't get to achieve success by taxing people. That isn't how you record more money. It's not how you get more money for the government. It's not how you incentivize more businesses. And this and the other. And I just want to respond on a particular comment here. So this guy here, the Liam Murphy, said a musclehead trying to argue economics with a natural economist. Is he though? He may have done economics. Does that make him the best economist person out there? And just because he's done economics doesn't mean that no one's allowed an opinion about his economics. That's their answer, apparently. And I just responded, he is an economist. He's the same sense as Karl Marx was. Yeah, not a valid opinion. Anyway, this is, I want to respond mostly to this guy here. I mean, you can go on this video, you can find it, and then read the comment thread. I'm not trying to hide anything, but what I want to focus on here, which really got me annoyed actually, because let's go down here. Mr. Stephen Brown said, if someone monetarily gains in a country, they should pay tax. If they're not happy, they can go and the market will fill the gap. The world will keep running, keep turning, and employment will be more ethical. Big assumption. I mean, why should I pay tax to support rubbish business models? Just pay people properly. So firstly, nobody's ever said that someone shouldn't pay tax. Yeah, I don't think that's even Andrew Tate's contention. So it's a whataboutism. Now, I know I'm feeding the dragon here. I'm going down the rabbit hole of digging into reasons why people say this kind of stuff. But it's really annoying, because the reason why it is annoying is because, as I said here, you'll get mass redundancies and mass unemployment, which ironically is what we have now got. And I keep mentioning this before. I worked for free for several months and worked barely above minimum wage to get to where I am today. And I think back on it, if I was to try it now, how many companies are willing to offer me or give me a shot? Give me equal chance. Because considering this, back then there were more companies around. There's less workers because immigration was a lot less. There was more of a demand of my skill set. And even then, I still couldn't get a fully paid job. So I went out and took an internship for 2 months. Now, I'm not here advocating that everyone should get an internship, and unpaid internship at that. I'm not saying that, but that was my path to where I am today. Okay, that is how I came to be today. And people would say, look at me and say, I'm now rich. Okay, so you can argue whatever you want at the end of the day, but I took an unpaid internship knowing fully well there's no guarantee of the future or why. Or I had no idea I'd end up today here, sitting here making this video. I had no idea about any of that. So, but it's that opportunity, that foot in the door, which gave me another job, an actual paid job. Now, again, it was barely above minimum wage. I was living in Brighton at the time. It was very expensive. I wasn't making much money. I did this for several years, might I just add. I was on minimum wage for several years after university. So it's not like I just happened to have success in the form of a house and a car and roof and food and everything else, and I can go on holiday once a year, which is a privilege. It's not right. It's a privilege. I mean, I haven't gone on holiday for a while, but I can afford to do so. All it means I just cut back on some things. It's not complicated. It's quite easy, in fact. And I've got a partner which helps. Bloody blah blah. So back then I had no money, and now compared to then I had a lot more money. But it was thanks to that opportunity that allowed me to be where I am today. And delaying that opportunity might have costed me another year or two, which is even worse. It's compounding, right? You start getting experience, then it's 1 year extra experience, which could lead to multiple more years experience. If you're off a job for a year, it puts you at a disadvantage, especially in comparison with other potential candidates that employers get to pick from. So, and it obviously depending what kind of businesses you go for, some of them may not have the capacity to grow as fast as other businesses, and imposing additional weights on them, i.e. minimum wage, in-house contributions, energy costs, everything else costs, tax costs, might make it unaffordable for them to take a chance on people like me, who literally couldn't. I didn't know anyone in the industry I wanted to go to. I knew nobody. In order to know people, I had to start working there. And I thank God every day I did. Now, I don't know what would have happened had I not done that. Maybe I'd have chosen a different path, but who knows? The opportunity was there for me to do it. And I want more people to have that opportunity. Maybe that company at the time couldn't afford to give me a job, but they wanted to give me a chance. And that chance gave me another job with them, later on paid, as I said. So for me, it's about, okay, great, opportunity. Opportunity is what you want. Opportunity is what we need. And if it means sacrificing a few months for a lifelong path of career path, that's great. And even if it means you get to work on the side to fulfill that dream, good. Everyone benefits. You work, you get some money. The company benefits because you're working for them, and the wheel keeps spinning. What's happening now is there are fewer jobs available because businesses are going out of business or employees are being fired. Let's talk about the people being fired, okay? Because I think it's not just sufficient for me to talk about it. Perhaps some evidence might help. So let's look at evidence, shall we? This is S&P Global, and you can, if you read this website, you can see that a whole load of things here. But take it down here, for example, and I'll read this particular section for those of you who are listening. With February seeing backlogs of uncompleted work fall sharply again in both sectors, job cutting remained widespread, intensified by reports of companies cutting headcounts, freezing hiring, or not replacing leavers due to rising staff costs associated with changes announced in the autumn budget, notably around increased national insurance contributions and the uplift in the minimum wage. 1 in 3 companies reporting lower staffing levels directly linked the reductions to the October's budget. The overall drop in employment, the 5th consecutive decline, was consequently the highest since November 2020. This represents a pace of job losses not seen besides the pandemic since June 2009, with job shedding especially marked in the manufacturing sector. And you can see this graph, UK employment is falling. And inflation obviously continues to rise. Blah, 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 we all know this. So the point I'm making is this. Again, indeed, we can go on here. That's 2024 though, so let's see if it's. I don't think it's got. That's too old. But you can see this graph here. The ratio of unemployed people to vacancies is still quite low. You know, back in 2005, it was higher, and it is potentially slightly increasing. But I wonder what it is like today. If you go on this site now, newsnow.co.uk, you can see constantly on the fly which companies are promoting job losses. There's loads of them. There's a whole list of them. This is from The Guardian. Number of payroll workers in UK fell by 78,000 ahead of budget tax rise. Ahead of budget tax rise. We haven't got any data from after April yet. So it's rising at the number of workers in UK company payrolls has fallen at the fastest pace since the height of the COVID pandemic. While pay has obviously increased, good for them, but employee numbers in healthcare. Employee numbers in healthcare rose by 70,000 people, but 92,000 people were laid off from accommodation and food service activities, which is expected because these increased costs will impact them the most. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this video, but probably our last video, but the restaurant near where I live, fish and chip shop, he's telling me it costs them £900 a month to run the business, just for energy. And I said before, I think it requires around 20 people a day to keep the business afloat on going on those rates, and that's not including his salary. British Steel halts plans for thousands of job losses after government intervention. So only companies like that can actually, only thanks to government can some jobs not be lost. Scunthorpe Steelworks, perhaps. I mean, there's so many jobs being lost. So I just want to make the point clear that I'm not against people paying taxes. What I am against is too much taxes. At a time when there's already so many burdens that businesses have to carry and deal with. Hiring people is an expensive enterprise. Recruiting them, training them, managing them, it all requires a cost. Nothing is free. Even when I worked my free internship, the company provided a desktop, not paid for by me. The company provided a desk, not paid for by me. All the utilities that wasn't provided by me. The rental business space that wasn't provided by me. Loads of things that I never contributed towards. And that applies the same for most businesses. Your salary is not the only thing that they spend to hire you, including taxes. So when this guy says if some monetarily gained in a country, well, none of the things I just listed there is a gain for them. It's a net cost for them. Employing me is a cost for them, not only by my salary alone, but everything else. On top of that. Now, if I don't produce enough value in return of their investment, or if they deem the reward isn't worth the risk, nobody can force any company to hire people. Nobody can. And I fear that this choice, political choice, to impose higher taxes on businesses and wealthy people is going to result in, job losses and actually increased prices. Because those small businesses would have acted as a buffer to higher prices. Monopolies always cause higher prices. So what we don't want is less businesses. We want more businesses to compete. Big business can afford all these changes. They have the money, they have the funds, they have the capital to do so. And not only that, they don't even pay tax. So, of course they can. They can cover the cost. Small businesses, on the other hand, well, they have no other option. They have to pay. And if it's not worth the reward, they'll stop. Which jeopardizes so many people like myself who would have gone out there and got some experience, even if it was for no money, to get their foot in the door. There's not a single path to success. And while people may look at me saying, well, just because you did it for free doesn't mean I should do it for free. I'm not saying that. I've never claimed that. I am, however, saying there's more ways than one to skin a fish. Or however the saying goes, skin a dog. I don't know. There's more ways than one. So you're imposing this artificially high tax rate. It's over ideology, not what is economically sound. So when he bangs on about Gary Stevenson, an economist, how can he not see this? And Gary Stevenson, again, I'm not entirely sure he is who he says he is. You know, he says he's a millionaire. He also claims he has a lot of friends on welfare and benefits and who are poor. Why doesn't he help them? Don't see why you wouldn't. Oh, it's the government's job. Why is it the government? He can give his money to the government if he wants to. Well, like Andrew Tate says, what is the point of giving a government who is completely inept at dealing with money more money? Would you give me your money to deal with it as I see fit? No, you wouldn't. But somehow this logic is reversed to give it to someone else, the government, some whatever, the state to deal with, as if the state is some great arbiter of how money should be spent. Anyway, I don't know. It's weird. Either A, these people don't work. I don't see the value of work. I don't see the value of their time, and they just live off other people's labour. Or B, they're champagne socialists. I don't see what is the third option there. Because I don't see why you'd advocate for higher taxes unless you are part of the cohort of people who don't actually work, who want to see more returns for them, of course. I begrudge those who do work. Or champagne socialists who really just don't care. They already have their welfare fund, they don't really care about anything else. I generally don't see the reasons why you won't argue for less taxes. And Andrew Tate, I don't even know why he's speaking, but he's telling the truth. Rich people can leave, and they do leave. And most people like us, who just earn enough just to get by, but not enough to leave, are the ones stuck paying the taxes. And tax rise will invariably have to increase to pay for the shortfall of all these millionaires leaving. And it's a lie to say that millionaires don't pay tax. I think 50% of people in this country don't actually pay tax because they're actually unemployed. And the rich, I think the middle class, those earning between, I can't remember what the statistic was, 60 and 80, are lumped as paying 70% of the taxes, whereas the top 1% pay the rest of it, mostly. And you may say, well, actually, see, they pay less than the rest of us. That's not true. Proportion, perhaps, as a proportion of the cohort, perhaps, but the 1% spending contributing 30% of the total UK's revenue taxes. That's a lot. You could say 1% contributing 30, 30% contributing 60, and the rest is contributed by everyone else. It's roughly along those lines. The rich, without the rich, we wouldn't have an NHS. Let's be blunt about this. You like the NHS, you thank the rich. Thanks to the rich, we have an NHS. So people say, oh, I'm bootlicking. No, I'm recognising facts, man. That's all I'm doing. I'm recognising facts. The fact is, the rich pay significantly more taxes than the rest of us. Do I begrudge them for restructuring their debt? No, because I'd do the exact same thing. Because I'm fed up of paying taxes. I told you before, I'm fed up of paying taxes so that my brother can live rent-free. You know, I'm fed up of it. I've got a whole family's of welfare. I'm fed up with that. Again, it traps people. And I want less traps and more freedom. I want people to be free of the shackles of poverty. And get them to work. Get them to get life experience. Get them to even work for free. Just to get that experience, to get the foot in the door, to start negotiating, start engaging with people, start seeking better opportunities, start learning how to collaborate and to negotiate for oneself. It is a cornerstone of one's ability to grow up and mature and negotiate for oneself. The state cannot provide all the jobs. And what we've seen in the data, I haven't got it up here, but what we've seen in the data is the public sector jobs are being maintained while private sector jobs are being decimated. We want more private sector jobs, not less. The government requires private sector to fund its programs, not the other way around. So let's not get things twisted. We need value to be created. We need innovation. We need productivity to be driven. We don't need more taxes. We need to incentivize businesses to invest to increase our productivity and start spending in this country because we need those jobs. We need businesses. We need growth. We have 20, 30 years of stagnant growth. It is time to put an end to this. It's not acceptable. And again, this is not about me. I've been given opportunities left, right, and centre. It's not about me. It's about how I envision people like myself starting off not knowing where's what, and figuring out based on opportunities that are given to them. I took the opportunity. I don't regret it. No, I digress. I want to remind people about the Laffer curve before we end this conversation, because Laffer curve basically describes a point at which it becomes less conducive for taxation. Now, it's not a fixed number, but we can see already businesses leaving. People are not willing to work more hours. I tell you myself, I don't want to work more hours. What's the point? I have to get taxed most of it. So I'm not making a YouTube channel to make money because again, I just get taxed on that. I'm making it because I care about it. I want to work more hours. I want to be more productive. I want to increase my knowledge, expand my horizons. I want to take on more jobs. I want to do this and the other. I want to be able to do that without having to deal with taxes. Taxes are the bane of my existence. First job, tax, fine. Second job should be free. If you work 2 jobs, you pick a job. You get to pick a job you want to pay taxes on. Or maybe the highest paying job, I don't know. But you pick one. You're de-incentivized to do more work in this country. I think above 40 hours a week, if you work more than 40 hours a week, everything above that should be free. You should get no taxes. I believe that sincerely. Incentivize people to work. Otherwise, you get taxed. You can work overtime, okay, but half of that goes to government. Why? Because they apparently worked with you. Price you paid living in a civilized society, or whatever. Such a contract is broken. It's time to change. And we won't change unless we get rid of this idea that we can just tax the rich. I can't believe it. Gary Stevenson is out here banging about taxing the rich. That's his only argument. It's boring. Like, how about we don't do that? How about we change it? You know, I don't know how he's become so successful. He's such an annoying character for me because it annoys me. It completely deflects from the actual problem. And again, Andrew Tate annoys me as well. All of them annoy me. How on earth are these people on social media all the time? Banging about this and the other. The answer, I mean, Tate is right on this one. Annoyingly, he's actually again right. I don't like the fact he's right, but he's right. He said a lot of right things. Gary Stevenson, what has he said that's right? Wealth inequality. Yeah, it's a problem. But you're advocating for taxes as if that's going to solve anything. Anyway, enough rambling. I just wanted to talk you through and vent my frustration out because I'm fed up of these guys telling me that Mr. Gary Stevenson is the world's best economist and all he cares about is everyone else but himself. That's not true. It's a blatant lie. And this guy saying, if someone monetary gains in the country, they should pay tax. It's like, no one's ever said they shouldn't. That's the thing. No one's arguing against not paying tax. There's a point at which it becomes more lucrative to avoid paying tax, to spend the money to avoid paying tax and to pay tax itself. So you might actually see a greater tax revenue if you cut taxes. It is just, if you don't understand what I'm saying there, just do some research. Don't listen to me rambling like a buffoon. Just conduct your own research. If they're not happy, they can go in for the market before the gap. Well, that's the thing. They won't. It's very expensive to start a business these days. I don't know if you noticed. Startups are not increasing. We're not increasing startups. And then most of the businesses that are being started up are sole traders, i.e. like myself. I'm not going to employ anyone. And most businesses nowadays are being started off by people like me and not going to employ anyone. So no one's going to get exposure. No one's going to get experience. We're not employing anyone. Most startups, most sole traders aren't employing people. You're not encouraging more jobs doing that. You're making it harder to actually start companies. Pubs are going out of business. Not because they're doing bad market practices, it's just because everything's so expensive and so quickly. I mean, everything's gone up. The world will keep turning and employment will become more ethical. How would it be more ethical? I don't get it. What's the argument? How is that an argument? Look, if I'm mistaken, please explain to me how businesses would become more ethical as a result of these tax hikes. I'm obviously not very smart. Obviously, I understand how that works. So if someone can actually explain to me, I'm happy to listen to you and be proven wrong. That actually companies will become more ethical as a result of these tax hikes. I mean, why should I pay tax to support rubbish business models? I don't get that comment because you're not paying tax to support businesses. That's not actually how it works. Businesses pay tax. You don't pay the business. For the most part. I get it, there's like some companies who get lucrative government support, which is also why I argue for a decrease in the government side of the government. And expenditure for the government, not more. I don't know what he's getting at with that, to be fair. But anyway, let me know what you think, and please correct me if I'm wrong. And please, if I'm being over dramatic here, and maybe you're thinking job losses aren't going to be that severe, please let me know. And if you are on the earning minimum wage now, please let me know how. I mean, is this what's your goal? What's your goal? What do you want to do in the future? Because maybe it's different for you now than it was for me back then. Because I didn't mind taking that job for making me exposure to the industry. So let me know. Is my pathway just that ridiculously different? Am I just completely off the head? Most people don't do what I do. or can't do what I do for whatever reason. I don't actually know, because I did what I did based on what I thought was sensible at the time, and I don't regret it. But I worked hard at it. I spent 14 years renting. I did what I did to get a house, and I said before in my previous video, I spent a lot of money on investing in myself. I did all of that, all of those things. I'm not saying people don't or people haven't, and I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if it's possible still today. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is like. Anyway, I hope you're well, and tell me if I'm going crazy, because these people seem crazy to me. I don't know if it's me or them. I genuinely don't know. Anyway, enough said. Thanks a lot. See you later.